Everyone, thank you for tuning in and watching the world. Tonight we have a very exciting night in store. As you see, we have Calvin Johnson, the criminal offense defense attorney, already on deck, ready to talk about the Sean Diddy Combs case. Lately, we've been talking about a lot of different subjects, but tonight we're going to focus on Sean Diddy Combs. As you guys may remember, there were a time when Calvin made a prediction unlike anybody else on the internet. That's why I wanted to have him up top, ready to go, because Calvin is the only one that predicted Sean Diddy Combs' time down to a T. Calvin, how in the hell did you do it?
Say, man, I'm just good. I'm good at doing what I do. You know, I try to tell people. I'm not trying to be funny, but I had a whole situation with one of my clients that did something, and I literally told him how he did it. And he was like, "What? How'd you figure that out?" Man, it's just logic. But on the cool, just trying to be honest, I'm a 25-year practicing attorney, man. I've been in federal court several times. I've done this show with you almost since when you started going to the Diddy trial. We went through a lot of stuff. We went through a lot of evidence. I watched everything that was going on. I took that information that you gave me because I've been in federal court so many times. I could guesstimate what I thought was going to happen. And so based on the fact that somebody, I think his attorneys were trying to get 14 months. I'm sorry, y'all. And the state actually wanted to go all the way up to 11 years. I kind of figured out that, hey, I know it's not going to go that far, and I know he wasn't going to get the minimum. Plus, with some of the activities that had happened, some of the stuff that had happened in the background, I kind of knew, based on what I was seeing, that range would probably go anywhere. And I said anywhere from 3.5 to about 5 years of time is what I thought that he was going to get. And then as we talked more, I said probably between 51 and 63 months. We can go back and watch the video. My prediction was between 51 and 63 months. And he actually got 50 months. So I'm basically 1 month off. So one person wanted 14 months. Another person, of course, the state wanted 11 years. So, but with that being said, realistically, looking at the enhancements in those situations, I thought that the legitimate enhancements that I thought the judge that may have been borderline, excuse me, I'm sorry, that were borderline, I thought the judge was going to go ahead and approve those because of the situation that Diddy was in. And so that's kind of how I figured out that 51 to 63 range was where I thought it would be. And he actually gave him 50 months, which was very close. I'm basically 1 month off.
Man, that's quite incredible. Can we take a walk down memory lane? I want to show you some video footage of how we took on a lot of fire. A lot of people said you weren't even a real attorney because they didn't think Diddy was going to get 50 months or close to it. Let's go back in time. You said you'd like to see the video, so let's have a go for it. Give me 1 second here. Pull this up properly. I want to make sure everything is good. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm going to play the video and we'll see what happens here.
Background. Do you have any other additional issues? They do this whole interview thing and they provide a full report to the court. Typically, the attorneys are there when they do these interviews. Like I go to my defendant's interview when they do them, and then they come up with a big report telling the judge what your background is, what your issues are. If you have a drug problem, they talk about it. They talk about your work history, your business history, your criminal history. They talk about all of that. And then they look at the point system based off of all of that and determine where you're going to fall. Like I said, most people say 51 to 63 months, and typically that's the range.
Okay, so there you have it. You say 51 to 63 months. Okay.
That he's going to be looking at. And with the amount of time he's already spent to this point, almost 11 months. And then the fact that you can take a drug program, which you know Mr. Combs has some drug issues, you can take 6 months off your sentence. And so when you do that, everything combined, like I said, he's looking to do anywhere between 3 to 4 more years and probably be home. And so that's kind of where he'll probably fall if the judge does not do the sentences consecutively and he does them CC, which is concurrent, which means at the same time.
Okay, so Genesis, I'm going to have you take over the next 3 questions, and then you can kick it back to me. Unmute your mic. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I love this question.
It's simple. We use data.
No, nothing. All right. So I'm going to.
And everybody has an opinion about, oh, well, they shouldn't be able to talk about it of what he was supposed to get convicted of. Now, a lot of them would say they probably should have charged the assault of Cassie in a way where he can get a conviction for that federally, but it really went across state lines. But a lot of people feel like that should have been something that really, that's what he did more than anything that people are pretty sure about.
Melvin, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you, but mute your mic temporarily till you.
Well, you got YouTube open. If you got 2 things open, just only have StreamYard open.
Okay, you're good now. All right, Sean G, go ahead and rock and roll. You have the floor, Sean.
Unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, Calvin, how many federal cases you did?
How many federal cases I've done? I'd say about 20.
Okay. Number one, the judge cannot use anything that Puffy was acquitted of in his determination of his sentence. His base offense level is 14. That's where it comes in for prostitution.
Okay, Calvin, let's just break here. The defense was asking for 14 months, but the judge did use acquitted conduct. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Once again, you got to be careful when you come on here. You let people on here and talk about what they're going to do and what we can't do. Sean G was clearly wrong here because what did the judge do? He used some of the other relevant conduct to attach to the sentence for the reason why he gave Puffy Combs the times he gave. So first of all, that first contradiction. And that's why you got to be careful. You can't listen to anybody on YouTube just because they went to the feds, just because they made decisions in their lives and them in the feds. Doesn't mean that's somebody to be listening to. Get you a reputable attorney who knows what the hell he's talking about, who's not going on emotion. Don't get me wrong. I have nothing against anybody who's in the feds. I feel bad for anybody who has been incarcerated. The people I have a problem with are those that think because they went to the feds and they come out that they are as knowledgeable as a practicing attorney who's been practicing for 25 years, who knows what the hell they're doing, like me. Those are the guys I have a problem with. And it hurts even more because there are a lot of people that will actually listen to somebody like that and then make decisions based off what they're watching. And that's why we have to be careful.
Okay, very good. So just so everybody know, because we're sharing the screen to show this video from YouTube, Calvin is a guest, so he's going to echo. That's a streamlined issue. We just have to endure it. We're going to try to play through all of this, take it off, and then Calvin would not echo. But anyway, let's get back to it.
Now, he could get a 4-point enhancement for coercion or fraud if the judge so decides. But where you're coming on here talking about that the judge can use, he could bring up the kidnapping, the arson, he cannot. He was acquitted of those charges. Nothing that he was.
Now, Calvin, isn't that what the judge did?
That's exactly what he did. But see, once again, I understand that. I've been in federal court. I've been in state court. They do the same thing in state court. They can use any prior bad acts or convictions. When I say prior bad acts, that can mean something that they consider that was bad. Doesn't have to be a crime. Doesn't have to be a conviction. It could be a crime. See, those are the things that they are able to use. That some of these guys, because they're been institutionalized, and maybe they went to court. And when they went to the feds, they probably felt there was a lot of stuff that was used against them that should have been used. In their minds, they don't want to accept that they can use those prior bad acts. But that person gave some information that was false and faulty. And you see how the judge did exactly what the attorney said, not what the ex-con said.
Okay, you did exactly what you said. Let's get back to it.
Acquitted of can be used in factoring his sentence. This is his first offense. If he does get any time at all, the base offense level at 14 is 15 to 21 months, man.
Can I make the?
Hold on a second. Y'all coming on these platforms talking about 51 months and 63 months. That's what Maureen Comey is going to ask for. But there is,
just for the people in the audience, Sean Diddy Combs got 50 months. Calvin says 51. All right. Let it speak for itself.
no basis for her to ask for that other than the fact that she lost. And it's the same way that Mark Agnifilo is going to come in and ask for time served, which is below the guideline range. He's going to ask the judge to do a downward departure. Now, Puffy has zero criminal history. The violent acts, none of that can be factored in to figuring out his sentence. He's got, this is his.
Okay, let's stop there. That was incorrect as well, because that's what the judge did, right? He factored in. Can DJ Genesis says, do you have YouTube open on your background anywhere? Maybe that's why we're getting an echo. I don't think so. But anyway, you can answer. Go ahead.
The whole reason why I became upset because the level of false information that coming through with the person that I'm arguing with, it really was pounding. And this is the problem. I'm a 25-year practicing attorney who's on this platform with you. And somebody does not have the experience, the knowledge, the background, and been in federal court environments on a consistent basis. Told you information about what judge could and could not do. And it was clearly false. And it was clearly erroneous. And that's kind of stuff when you watch these guys coming on these platforms. He said coming on these platforms. I'm talking about people like him coming on that platform. That's what you watch out for. Because those guys have an active ground with the system. They come from a place of anger. They come from a feeling. What I'm doing is not a feeling, it's science. It's based on what Mel let me know how the judge looking and feeling. It's based on the situation. It's based on my experience. It's based on my level. It's based on the fact that I've been in federal court on several occasions. That's why I was able to get so close. I was 1 month off. I want you to think about that for a minute. The range went anywhere 14 months all the way up to 130 something months. And I guess in 1 month. That's why you listen to attorneys. And you don't listen to people on YouTube who are not attorneys coming on trying to give legal advice just because they made a decision to end up federal penitentiary or end up in the past. They're not qualified to do that kind of advice. They can tell you a few things, but not much more than that. Not much more than that.
Okay.
His first conviction. Y'all got to stop with this, man, with this run. They're not going to run the charges consecutive. If they do anything, they're going to run them concurrent. And at this point, Cassie's prostitution charge has already expired the 5-year statute of limitations. So her charge may be out the window.
Can I just break this down to you, my brother? I understand your opinion.
I'm not your brother. Don't patronize me like that.
Hey, listen.
Don't do that. Listen. I don't know you.
Hey, listen.
Hey, listen. We're not going to be argumentative on here.
Let's do this. Because I didn't interrupt him, so I don't want him to interrupt me. So let's do that first. I always tell people, you might not like what I say, you might not agree with what I say, but the judge is going to take things into account that he feels that he wants to take into account. He doesn't have to. I've already seen the sentencing guidelines. I've been doing this for about 24 years, going on 25 years. Once again, you may not like what I'm saying, but the judge, we don't know what the judge is going to do. And so this is where we got to be careful, everybody. Like for me, whatever the judge does, he does. But when as an attorney, we're taught to pick up on every little cue. The fact that he did not want to give Mr. Combs bail.
Are you looking to establish your business using an address other than your home? Wish you had a
Before sentencing, the fact that he came back almost a little more on the angry side after he was sentenced kind of gives me a cue of what I think the judge is going to do, number one. Number two, we don't know if the judge is going to run things consecutively or not. Now, I try to tell people, is he going to run things consecutively? Do I think he's going to run things consecutively? No, I do not. It's a possibility. And as attorneys, we try to tell people their worst possibilities. So if I'm Puffy's attorneys, I'm of course going to argue that, hey, he's a first-time offender. He wasn't convicted of any of the additional stuff that they're bringing up. And Judge, we really need to stick to the guidelines. And Judge, we really need to keep this sentence below where the guidelines are. But most of the judges, 90 to 95% of the time, will follow those particular guidelines. And when it comes to being personal, look, if you don't want me to be your brother, I'm okay with that. I'm fine. I do this for a living. I do it every day. I do it all day. So at the same time, I tell people, as an attorney, I have to prepare my client for the worst. I have to prepare him for listening to, hey, they're going to try to talk.
Calvin, great point. You prepare your client for the worst. Diddy was so disappointed that he didn't go home that day. In fact, next week he had an event planned in Miami. You know, that was not proper guidance, I don't believe, but you hit a great point, my man.
We talked about that. Mel, I wouldn't have had him planned an event for the following week. And I would have been preparing him. I'd have been like, Mr. Combs, I'm doing everything I can to get you home. But don't be surprised they make you stay another couple years or so. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm doing everything I can to Combs because I want you to be ready. I want you to make your plan. You got your family away. You got your kids. You got your empire. You got your mom that love. This community loves you wrong, right. And I want to make sure that I put you in the right place and mindset. So if something goes left, you're okay with it.
Okay.
Talk about other stuff, but we're going to be able to help you deal with those things.
Let me ask
and so at the same thing, don't interrupt me. Do not interrupt me. We're not going to do that. I didn't interrupt you. And so basically what happens is I try to tell people, hey, it's my job to make sure that you're ready for the worst thing that can happen. And then we try to work back from that because I don't want you going in thinking you're going to get time served. And then next thing you know, you get 61 months. Now, because he's a first-time offender.
Just so everybody know, That Girl Henny is backstage as well as DJ Genesis of Detroit. So they will be coming up. I know some of you guys are here for them, looking for them. And shortly we're going to bring them up.
To me, you should go on the lower end. You should go on the lower end because of that. But with that being said, based on
saying that before.
But no, that's what I did. No, what I'm trying to tell you is I'm making sure that people understand where I'm coming from. Now, I'm saying that now, but what I'm telling you is I'm looking at the pressure that the judge probably has on him. And I'm saying that because of that, and based on the behavior of the judge, initially seeming like he was going to let Mr. Combs come home. And then all of a sudden he goes back and doesn't want to let him come home. And then the judge may be sitting back, watching how people are reacting. And when it comes to domestic violence, when it comes to men, especially black men, man, when you're in a courtroom and somebody's accusing you in the past of doing it, or if a judge hears that, whether he's taking that into account or not, he's heard about it. And when he hears about it, you may think he ain't gonna take it into account. But let me tell you one thing, he is going to damn sure take it into account. And it's my job to tell you that, not to agree with you and make you feel good. And that's just kind of where I'm at. That's how that works for me. I mean, that's just what it is. May not like it, but it is what it is.
Listen, how many days were you in court? Did you come down to the court?
I did not come down to the court, but I've been talking to Mel every day. And Mel been in court every day. So I get my truth from Mel.
I was in the courtroom every day.
Are you a lawyer, Shanji?
Excuse me?
Are you a lawyer?
Am I a liar?
A lawyer, a lawyer.
Calvin, you wasn't in the courtroom and you got it right. That's pretty impressive.
And you know what I'm talking about, Mel? I'm gonna tell you this right now, man. You got guys like that, and don't get me wrong. They're very confident, they're very cocky, sometimes they can be loud about it. But at the end of the day, it ends up in a situation where you're trying to save face and trying to show people how smart you are, and that God isn't really talking about. But that's not what we need to be doing, man. I mean, this is serious, man. I mean, Puffy is going to have to do a 2.5, 3 more years possibly, and that's serious time for somebody like him. And if somebody watching this show, they need to know that kind of stuff. And listen to people like G, who are going to come here and not have a chance to listen to a 24, 25-year practice attorney. Man, you don't take advice like that. I'm just being honest, straight up.
Okay.
Or attorney?
I was an inside the courtroom observer. Okay.
Are you a paralegal or attorney? Are you in the legal field?
And Melvin can attest to that.
Welcome to the Datadog Application Performance Monitoring Demo. Datadog APM.
Okay.
Now,
he's absolutely correct. Yeah.
On the day that Puffy was acquitted by a jury of his peers, Submarinian didn't convict him. Maureen Comey didn't acquit him. Submarinian didn't acquit him. I didn't acquit him. You didn't acquit him. Mark Agnifilo didn't acquit him. New Yorkers, a jury of his peers, acquitted him and told him, gave him his life back. He was facing death, 30 years to life. They set him free. Judge Submarinian was gonna let him go home that day. Mark Agnifilo stood up and asked him, let him go home, let him be with his family. And Judge Submarinian was gonna let him go until Maureen Comey stood up.
Okay, we get the point. I want to move on to the next one. So Sean G went on another guy's channel the following day. I want to show you what they did briefly, but you just have to see it to believe it.
I think he's going to run things consecutively. No, I do not. It's a possibility. And as attorneys, we try to.
So now they're replaying our video. You see the two of them on the left-hand side. Well, actually, I'm going to go back to 19 minutes. I want you to hear what this gentleman says first.
I don't know who Les Brown is. Go look up Les Brown. Amazing. He's like an OG. He's an OG. He's like a OG motivational speaker. He also helps people with business. He helps people with psychology. I coach lawyers, like in their business.
Okay, so this guy, he coaches lawyers, Calvin. Keep that in mind.
Business, and they're almost never practicing law. I'll say it again, pretty crystal clear. I coach lawyers, like in real life. We have them on our roster, and they're almost never practicing lawyers. They usually, oftentimes, leave their field. And just to put it this way, okay, I'm in real estate. I've been doing real estate since I was 20 years old, since a long time. I've been in real estate over 17 years. Okay. And if I was to go and start talking about real estate in Montana, in a wood house, after being here in New York, like, I don't know how to.
Anyway, you get the gist. So we're gonna get down to the grass.
I'm here, like, I'm still at the office. You guys can see it. Okay. If I'm here in New York, okay, and all of a sudden I'm trying to talk real estate in Montana, agent knows in that neighborhood, and because you've been through it, because you've already been, you held up the sheet in that video. You held up the sheet saying, I've been through it. So that's as far as I'm going to speak. Just for those of you guys who don't know Sean G, if you don't mind, introduce yourself, brother, and then can we please play that video? And I just want to break down that video.
Sean G, Jay, what's up, man? Thanks for having me, man. The podcast was so, man. Like you say, I've been through the federal system. I was indicted on a 28-count indictment for aiding and abetting in the preparation of fraudulent tax returns. So I did 16 months in the feds, and I talked to people that had 30-year sentences all the way down to 6-month sentences. So I know how the sentencing thing goes.
Right. Easy Q Universe says experience is the best teacher. It's facts. It's facts. Let's pull up this video.
Okay, Calvin, they say experience is the best teacher instead of you being an attorney.
But this is the problem I have, man. And I tell people all the time. I was raised up in the hood. I came from a neighborhood. I had every chance in life to commit crime, to get caught up in the game, and to get tricked out of my position, right? And I didn't let government, I didn't let the system trick me out of my position. What makes him think that I'm going to listen to him? And he got tricked out of his position and ended up locked up in the feds. And I'm being honest with you. That's one of the things, one of the problems I have with people when they come at like this. I'm somebody who thought what will happen. Just like I predict the future. I predicted if I continue to look around me and do everything that everybody else was doing, I looked at their end game. Their end game was jail. So why would I get myself in a position where I'm in jail? You know what I did instead, Mel? You can go to my YouTube, you can go to my Facebook. I busted my ass. I became an attorney. I went to college. I went to law school. Opened my own firm. Represented Squad Chef draft 1 year. Start practicing criminal straight out the gate. And I'm doing what I'm doing now. Are you gonna listen to me? Or are you gonna listen to somebody that got kicked out of the position? That doesn't practice law and does not know what they're doing. And this other guy talking about he coaches lawyers. Any lawyer that would allow a guy like to coach them, we don't need coaching from non-lawyers. I mean, what lawyer would let a non-lawyer coach them? One of the key of what we do, we don't let non-lawyers tell us what to do when it comes to legal stuff. That's a non-starter for me. If a non-lawyer tries to come in a legal situation and try to tell me what I need to do legally, we automatically are going to separate.
Okay, all right.
This video was enraging both C and I, and that's why you and I spoke earlier today about it. Let's pull up this video and let's play like 1 minute, 2 minutes of it.
You have the floor, Sean.
Unmute your mic.
No.
Yes.
No, skip to this guy. Yeah, skip to him. Because we already know Sean G, what he was saying. I don't want to take up a lot of his time. We already know what he was saying. And if you guys don't know what he was saying, you guys can go and look at the video. And I'm sure Sean G will clear anything up. But skip to when this guy was speaking.
Before sentencing, the fact that he came back almost a little more on the angry side after he was sentenced kind of gives me a cue of what I think the judge is going to do, number one. Number two, we don't know if the judge is going to run things consecutively or not. Now, I try to tell people, is he going to run things consecutively? Do I think he's going to run things consecutively? No, I do not. It's a possibility. And as attorneys, we try to tell people their worst possibilities. So if I'm Puffy's attorneys.
So for those that are just coming in, a lot of people are coming in now, which I imagine would happen. Calvin had predicted, right, as a 25-year attorney, he predicted that Sean Diddy Combs would serve somewhere around 51 months, right? It actually came true because I was in court on Friday. The judge gave Diddy 50 months. So these guys here, you'll see, this is what they were promoting after Calvin and I had a show about 2 months ago. So we're going back through it to show what was said versus what a real attorney was able to predict.
I'm, of course, going to argue that, hey, he's a first-time offender. He wasn't convicted of any of the...
Hey, podcast was so. Am I right in saying that he is flip-flopping right now? Because before this, he was saying, oh, this is what it's 51 months and so on and so forth. And now he's saying, oh, I'm only saying this because I'm a defense attorney and I have to tell my defense clients the worst case scenario. But he wasn't saying that before. Is that correct?
I can't remember, Jay, but what rubbed me the wrong way about this video is that I just didn't, he was saying, I think he said something like he knew what the judge was thinking, or and I just, because Tisha Tells was saying that when she was doing her broadcast in front of the courtroom for 7 weeks. Oh, the jury feels this way. Puffy feels this way. How do you know? How do you know? I think that what people just need to stick with is the sentencing guidelines. And then he's talking about, you know, are they going to run it consecutive? Does he think so? No, which he kind of cleaned that up. But, you know, when he started talking at 51 months and 63 months, that I didn't appreciate that. And that's.
Hey, Calvin, you think he appreciated now?
I think he does. Listen, one thing I want you is listen. They got it. I got it. Point blank. And a lot of it is because this refused to listen. Based on my experience. That's what it comes down to.
Okay.
That's the furthest thing from the truth, because that's not nowhere.
Shop bestsellers at Ashley, where no matter what your holiday traditions are, you're always at home. Whether you're rearranging.
That's like a level 24 on the sentencing guidelines chart, and there's no way Puff is going to end up near a level 24.
So just so you guys know, on Friday, Sean Diddy Combs was at a level 27, right? And that's what they were just saying. There's no way he's going to get to a 24. Calvin?
Man, let me tell you what you can do, man. Take that video down. We can talk about what they said, because we know what they said. We got to. I got to echo. I want to echo.
All right. So there you have it.
Listen, everyone. I want y'all to pay attention. You had somebody tell you that there's no way he was going to get it at a level 24. He ended up at a level 27. He literally got 50 months. I predicted 51 to 63 months. He said all of the stuff, the additional behaviors that Puffy had been involved in was not going to be used. They were used. He tried to make out like I did not know what I was talking about, that experience was the best teacher because he was in the courtroom every day, that he knew better than me. Listen, I've been in federal court. I've had people's lives in my hands. People hand me thousands of dollars to make sure that I defend them. Then I come from a neighborhood where I learned from guys who got in trouble. So I understood what they were facing. I mean, I've been doing law basically since high school. I went to the high school for the public services, government, and law. So I started wanting to be a lawyer back in high school, went to college, got a college degree, got a law degree, and I've been practicing for 24 years. You have to start listening to people who know what they're talking about. Everybody that comes on these YouTube channels, that maybe they're the loudest, maybe they're the smoothest, they're not guys you should be listening to. This is a prime example, everyone, of why you need to make sure you get good legal advice. And just because somebody went to the feds does not mean that they know what they're talking about. Just because they served time with somebody does not mean that they know what they're talking about. And don't get me wrong, listen, I feel bad for people who had to go to federal prison. I feel bad for people who had to go to jail. I don't have a problem with them. I have a problem with people who, just because you went to the feds, now you know as much as me. Now you know as much as a practicing attorney, and you won't listen to anybody. And I'm going to be honest with you. When guys go and get time in the feds, typically the reason why they ended up getting time is because they wouldn't listen to their attorneys. And what you have here is you got two guys that are not lawyers, that are not listening to a 24-year practicing attorney. Don't listen to people like that. I'm serious. This ain't personal. I mean, we could be petty today about it because I was right and they were wrong. But and the legal review with Calvin Johnson, Calvin wants to give you good, sound advice. Do not listen to people like that on YouTube that are not practicing attorneys. Out of all that time, think about this, 14 months all the way up to 130 something months. And I was within 1 month of guessing that sentence right. The reason why I was with 1 month of guessing that sentence right, because I'm an attorney, number one, but number two, I'm just good. I'm good at what I do. I love it. I breathe it. I live it. And so when you want to get some legal advice, go to the attorney, listen to them, work with them. Don't get your legal advice off YouTube from people who are not practicing attorneys. This is what this is about too. Me and Mel, we want to educate you. We want to bring you into a different world. We want to take your understanding up to another level. And that's what we're doing here. What do you think about that, Mel?
Yeah, the gentleman that I don't know his name. I saw him around the courthouse a few times, but he's a real estate attorney, self-help motivator, expert. He teaches attorneys around the country, I guess, something like that. But anyway, he said something like he represented himself, I believe, when I saw the video. Somebody sent it to me. He represented himself one time, I believe, when he was 19 or something, and now he felt like he knew better than attorneys. So he was advising, allegedly, I think he was advising not to listen to attorneys. I guess you could represent yourself. I couldn't quite figure out the angle. Talk to us.
Man, some people have beef with attorneys because sometimes they don't like what we're going to tell them. And I give you an example. If you look at Sean G, he's definitely pro Puffy. Don't get me wrong. I wish the best for Mr. Combs. I have nothing against him. I have a lot of respect for him for what he's done for us in the music industry and as a culture. But at the same time, I have to put that to the side and be real. I have to make sure that just because I'm in my feelings, that I don't let the knowledge that I have go past people. I need to give that knowledge to people, right? And so you got some people just because they feel a certain way about Puffy, and maybe because they had a situation where they felt like that they were done wrong, and they have a mindset of, I shouldn't get more time than I got. So maybe his experience in being in the feds, he probably felt like he got too much time, and they used stuff that they probably shouldn't have used. And sometimes when we go through those traumas, we'll try to put that onto our thinking. And I think that's kind of what happened with him, as opposed to sitting down and really listening to a real attorney lay it out for you. Like I said before, I said 51 to 63 months. He got 50. Nobody else on the internet got that close that I know of. And it's because I know what I'm doing. And when you know what you're doing, get you an attorney who knows what he's doing and listen to him. That's the first thing I want everybody to gain from this. This is Legal Review with Calvin Johnson and Mel Smith. Get you an attorney you trust. If you trust that attorney, man, listen to him. And like I said before, I tell people, and it's nothing against somebody going to the feds and you asking them for a little bit of legal advice about what they should do or what their experiences were. I'm not downing anybody for going to seek advice from those people. But when you sit down with an attorney that you trust and you're real with, you listen to that person first, because he's going to tell you the truth. Other people will tell you about how they felt about what they went through. I'm going to give you the A, B, C, D, and E's and 1, 2, 3s so you can know what to expect, because that's my job.
You know, that day I was in court for the sentencing on Friday, and Diddy was very disappointed that he wasn't going home, which any of us would be. But the key thing that I take away from this, that an attorney like you would have set him up for the right expectation, not on this 14-month or this 18-month, and you're going to go home with time served, and next week you're going to be in Miami teaching a class. You set people up for failure when you operate that way. Now, a lot of people don't have the heart to tell you the truth, but I appreciate people like you who have the wisdom. And not only that, they tell you the truth and say, look, you might be looking at 50 months. You're going to sit back for some time, but do your time, and you'll be out in this amount of time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and Mel, I literally said those words in my video, the same video that we're playing. Yeah. I said, I have to manage my clients' expectations because Mr. Combs has a family, he has a mother, he has businesses he's running, he's a mogul. I want to make sure that he understands, hey, Mr. Combs, I'm going to try to get you home. I'm going to do everything I can do. But more than likely, there's a 60, 70, 80% chance that this is probably going to happen. And because we have to get ready for that, hey, don't make plans to go speak in an event after you get out, because then if the judge finds out about that, if the state finds out about that, they'll bring that up and they'll make the judge think that you're not taking it serious. And then it's going to create a situation where the judge maybe not wasn't even going to give you the 50 months. Maybe he's going to give you less. But when he sees stuff like this, he's thinking like, oh, you're just glazing over. You don't understand the seriousness of what you did. And so I try to make sure that I manage my clients, I manage their expectations. And when we're getting ready to go to sentencing, I keep everything tight. I'm not going to let some new person come in, set a meeting up after he gets out. We're not doing any of that. I would have made sure that Mr. Combs had the right mindset, and I would have managed his expectations properly.
Okay, so listen, today we have so many people here from That Girl Henny group. They are demanding that she come to the stage. We won't do our real show that we typically do every week tonight. Tomorrow we'll come back and actually go through and break down the whole Friday event and have you get into that. Today we're just going to address the trial as a whole because That Girl Henny was there in court with me most of the time. Let's welcome her to the stage. That Girl Henny, welcome to the building. You're muted. You're muted.
Thank you for having me back, Mel and Calvin. Hey, everybody.
It's a pleasure.
Hey, sis.
And I want to say, Calvin, I was close to you, and I'm not an attorney. I said 3 or 5. So I was close. But you know what that came from? Me doing my due diligence, looking at things, and then thinking about it from a common sense logic and being in a courtroom watching people being sentenced multiple times or watching court cases and seeing how things go. I kind of was like, okay, no, he's not going to do 11. But from the beginning, I just felt like he wasn't going to get a whole slew of time. And on behalf of those of us who don't practice law, I want to say this. One of the things I did bring to a lot of people was breaking down and understanding what this case really was, how they were charging things. A lot of people didn't understand what predicate offenses were of a RICO, because when we look at a RICO, the first thing we think is mob boss. Well, that's evolved because it's gone into gangs, it's gone into rap, so it's trying to understand where they're going with things. So I focused more on that while I was at the trial to see how the government was building their case and tried to educate people as I was educating myself, because that's key. I was also pulling from Cornell law and putting it on the screen and showing people this is what they're saying by law this is, because I personally, even though I cover court docs and things of that nature, never want to give misinformation out to people that's harmful intentionally. But again, I'm not a lawyer. I let people know that. I just have an interest in law. And I want to commend you because you did a very good job at educating us on things, how this court case would go. And I do agree with you that I don't think his lawyers, while they're great lawyers, don't get me wrong, they're great. I don't think they did a service to him. I think they did a disservice, because to me, sitting in that courtroom, it seemed like Diddy was running the lawyers. So I don't know. I just feel like they should have prepared him a little bit better instead of selling a fantasy.
But you know what? I think that's the thing that I would have sat down with Mr. Combs and said. I said, hey, look, if you go to a doctor and he tells you he has cancer and you got to take this pill, you take the pill. And what I would tell him is, hey, listen, you got to trust me. I don't want to represent clients who don't trust me. So I've been like, Mr. Combs, I need you to do everything that I need you to do. I need you to do everything that I tell you to do. I don't want you making any plans on doing events after the sentencing, because if that gets out, that's going to cause you a problem. And then I would have made sure that Mr. Combs trusted me to make the best decisions that were going to put him in a place to be successful. I commend you, That Girl Henny, for doing the job that you did. You gave a lot of information during this trial that people needed. And you, unlike some others, you gave the information and then you approached it from a common sense, kind of even keeled point of view, which when you said common sense, and that's the biggest thing I can say. I think some people, when you go to the feds or you get incarcerated or you go through a court case, sometimes it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and you may be kind of putting some of that bad taste into what you're giving the people. And that's not what you should be doing. Like what you did, on the other hand, was you said, hey, I'm going to watch the sentencings. I'm going to watch the judge. I'm going to watch some of his tendencies. I'm going to see what other people in some of the other states' cases do. I'm going to look at some of what the other attorneys do and some of the other things that maybe some of the other defense attorneys will do to try to help their clients out. And I think that that's very, very smart. I try to tell people they're little bitty things. And like you said, common sense, but they're little bitty droplets of information where a judge would tip what he's going to do. All those times he didn't let Puffy go home. The attitude change of when they came back on the 2 smaller convictions, he was almost sounding like he was going to let Puffy go home. And it's almost like he went back there and somebody said something to him. or a thought jumped in his head, or one of his review clerks, his legal clerk said, "Hey, Judge, you might want to think about this one." Something happened to where there was a turn, and when that turn happened, and he didn't let him go home, I said, if he's going to let him go home, he'd let him go home now. If he's going to hold him in there, I felt like, based on what had happened, how long Mr. Combs had been in there, the reason why I guess between 51 and 63 months, because I thought that fell more to the middle or the bottom middle. And that's where I thought he would fall, bottom middle, based on the situation, based on the state kind of overreaching, and then based on the fact that even though he only got convicted of a couple of things, there was a lot of questionable behavior when it came to women and abuse and some of the other things that I think the judge was going to make him do some time for. And so that's how I arrived at what I arrived at.
And let me say this, when it came down to people saying, oh, well, the domestic violence, this isn't a domestic violence case. One of the things that I started having people say in my chat was, at the end of domestic is what? Violence. And what did the judge keep talking about? The preponderance of violence. That was definitely going to play a part in things. I already knew that, like you said, watching how the judge was responding, look at how I was even saying the judge is getting annoyed with the defense team because it's been nonstop. And then he'll tell them not to do something and they do it anyway. Like, don't argue cases, just send me your cases that represent what you're asking for. So I could see there was like an annoyance that I could feel coming. And I was like, they need to relax and slow down on all of these filings that are going on. But I do want to point out something to people. When they were talking in the sentencing and Brian Steele was bringing up, the appeal, they let it be known that if it didn't go this way, we're going to appeal. The judge, to me, also dropped down below with the PSR. I could be wrong, but it's like he dropped below the PSR, but above what they asked, to where if you go to appeal, based off of my research and what I've been doing, they're not going to stand a chance at an appeal because he didn't even go by what was recommended by the pre-sentencing report. He went safe. So there's no way to wiggle out of this. Like, am I wrong?
You're right. And see, that's the kind of, that's the kind of common sense analysis. The girl, I got to give you a round of applause.
Thank you.
And the reason why I say that, that's the kind of common sense you do. What did I say? When I say middle, bottom, middle, which means fall right below what the PSR from the government is asking for. When I say government, you got the probation office of the government, and then you got the United States attorneys asking for one amount, which was crazy, 11 years. But the PSR that the federal probation office did, it was at this amount, and judge went right below that. And the reason why judge, I think, also did that, and that's another reason, and me thinking he was going to get 51 to 63, is because when you fall right below, if I go to an appeal and I have a federal probation office recommend 57, 58, 63, whatever, and I give him under what they were recommending, it's hard to say that there was some bias there. And the judge was very, very smart in doing what he did. Some people think that these federal judges are just pulling numbers out of the sky. No, he understood that he wasn't going to go at the same rate that the federal probation wanted, and he wasn't going to do what the state wanted to do. But if he did a little bit less than what federal probation wanted to do, it's going to reduce the chance that Mr. Combs would win on appeal. I think Mr. Combs, if he tries to appeal, I don't think that's the right route for him. He could actually end up getting worse. Sometimes people think that you can appeal and get more. He could actually.
That was going to be my next question to you too, because I was looking. Can he get? Listen, this is what I do. I'm an undercover geek, is what I tell people. I'm a nerd. I get into the books. I like to research. One of the things that I saw was, if the judge feels that Judge Submaranian did not give enough time, he could find himself going back to resentencing for more time.
Bingo.
So this could play opposite of him. Plus, if you stood in court and said, listen, you accounted for your drug addiction, you apologized in the 9th hour because nothing, and Mel, you know this, during the whole trial, nothing about anything that was put on, said, or any of that gave remorse for what he was there for. But in the 9th hour, he says, I'm sorry, Cassie. I'm sorry, Jane. And Judge, I'm willing to take anything that you give me, right? So if you're willing to take whatever is given to you, you don't appeal. So to me, again, I don't know, just me as a person looking at it, if you said that in court and you appeal it, then you still are showing no remorse.
See, that
because you said you were willing to accept your consequences for your actions, basically.
Can I pause for 1 minute? I just want to, for the record, right, for court, right? Calvin, the judge started off saying that the prosecutors wanted 135 months. The defense wanted 14 months. They said probation had recommended 70 to 87 months. The judge made a mistake toward the end and said, basically, I'm sentencing him according to probation, which was, then he corrected and says, oh, he was at 60. Probation was actually at 70. After, in my opinion, after he saw the kids and they all really poured their hearts out for their father, the judge took a 5-minute break. He took another 10 months off. So it was at 60. He knocked it down to 50. So ultimately, under probation 70, he went 50. I just want to give that to you guys' conversation, and then I'll sit.
But once again, that was a safe sentence, and that was a smart move for the judge. And then I think one of the problems that I think attorneys like myself run into with somebody like Mr. Combs, because they're so used to being in control, right? And I'm used to being in control. I'm not gonna lie. When I have a case, I take full control of it, and I'll tell you this why. I'll tell you why I say that. If a client comes to me and wants me to work with them and get them the best I can, and I'll tell them, hey, do everything I ask you to do. I want you to do it. If something goes wrong, you can blame me for it. I'm good with it. But what you're not going to do is I give you some advice. I tell you to go right, you go left. If it goes bad, you get mad at me. That's not going to happen because you're going to take ownership of it. And so what I would have told Mr. Combs is, hey, when you are speaking, you need to make sure you apologize first. The apologies need to come, not just from your mouth. Anybody who speaks on your behalf needs to be apologizing. You need to be apologizing from the rip. You definitely need to be talking about making amends to those people. Don't talk about yourself. Talk about them more and how you want to make it right with them. And see, the problem is when you have somebody like Mr. Combs, he's not really used to doing that. And so what you do is you work with him on that because subconsciously he's going to do what he's been doing, which is talk about himself. He's a promoter. Mm-hmm. He's a promoter. He's made things out of thin air to make happen. How do you think he made Biggie? I mean, when we looked at the first Biggie Small video, we thought Biggie was rich, was living in a mansion. Man, Puffy had maxed out all his credit cards and the rent the boat and the rent the mansion. We thought they were already there. But once again, it's because he's a control freak. As an attorney, I know I got a control freak as a client. I'm going to pull some of that control back because that control comes off as aggressive. It comes off as, even as the defendant, I'm even trying to control the judge and what he's doing. And that's not how you want to come off. You want to come off as very humble, concessionary, and you want to come off as, hey, judge, you got control of my life. I understand it. Please have mercy on me, my kids, my family, and I'm sorry for what I did to whoever. You got to come off like that. Anything else that you come off as and what you're going to do and all this other stuff, that's not the right tone to strike. So I think that ultimately some of the right tones got struck, but they could have prepared him a little bit better in my estimation.
Let me ask you something, Kelvin. As a defense attorney, would you have ever in a situation like this gone into the courtroom and victim blamed? Like no. How we've seen, they wanted it. They're not victims. And even that letter to respond to Mia, when I was reading it, I said, whoa, this is disrespectful and unprofessional. This sounds like something I would write if I was mad at somebody. But this is Do you think that type of language and tone, do you think that that played a part in some of this case as well with the judge?
I think a little. I think it did some. I think you have to do it a little bit in terms of they were kind of in some of the situations they were kind of allowing themselves to be in some of it. But you don't want to really talk about that much. You really want to admit to your mistake and move on from it. You don't want to victim blame, because if you do that, then it can really come off as arrogant, right? It can really come off as, hey, I don't understand. I don't really get what I did. I really don't understand how I hurt people. And so you don't want to come off as that, because you can come off a little arrogant. I wouldn't have done much of that. And even when it comes to the letters, writing them letters and that kind of stuff, man, what I tell my clients to do, and this is going to sound crazy, every phone call that you have that ain't even talking about the case, you want to tell your mama, I'm sorry for mom, I put you in a position. I'm really sorry to those people about what happened, because at the end of the day, every phone call, every letter, you want to show concession at every point, because it's going to come out. And if you don't show that concession with a judge, when they do have some convictions, and you have to realize this culturally, right? When you see something like that and you look at the video where she almost got a head kicked like a football,
right?
That almost got punted. You got to know that an image like that is going to stick in a judge's head, because it's stuck in mine. And so just think about a judge's head. It's going to stick in the judge's head. And that's why you got to be careful.
And we watched that video so many times. It's ingrained in our memories because we saw it. How do you think that'll play with a judge if they go for appeal on the tone of how, the victim blaming and all of that? How, even in the sentencing, Mel, am I correct? Because I wasn't in the courtroom for the sentencing. So I was reading the Inner City Press, which I already know is not a full transcript. I do have the full transcript and I started reading it, but today is my day of rest. So I don't really do too much on Sundays. Wasn't there a point where it was brought up in court again about the victims? They were willing and the tone of all of that?
Go ahead, Mel. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was brought up in court. I think a lot of people kind of sighed at it to hear that develop. But again, the judge kind of factored that all in. Toward the end, the judge says, listen, the defense is trying to turn this into a love and rock and roll or what have you type of scenario, but it's far from it. And what I found to be interesting is this, and I'm going to bring this up to Calvin and see what your thoughts are, because it ties in nicely to what that girl Henny is saying. In the beginning of the trial, right, when they had the opening arguments, the argument for prostitution was that, hey, this was not prostitution. He was paying the men for their time. Well, at the end of the trial, they said, oh, he was just having some makeshift porn operation, right? And they brought in all the dynamics of it. So it's like, because they had 4 different shops of high power attorneys, it's almost like I use the allegory of 4 people riding in a car. They get into a ditch. They start arguing about who has the best idea to solve the problem. They try Ronnie Way first, Calvin Way second, try Mel third, then finally they try Jacob. Then the old guy across the street say, listen, I've been watching this whole operation. All you have to do to get out of the ditch is to put a block here, boom, boom, and they're out of here. And that's what the judge said. I watched the whole trial. You can't fool me. You can't just keep switching this scenario. And the judge said, you started off saying you were paying for time. Now it's porn. Like, what is it? Right? Talk to
Exactly.
us.
Man, judges do not like when you play games like that with them. It's almost like you insult their intelligence, because what you have to realize too, as lawyers, when you tell somebody something in the beginning, you need to be telling them the same thing in the end, because then you lose your credibility, right? And so you don't want to disrespect the judge by insulting his intelligence. If you told them A and B, and then at the end you're telling them 1, 2, and 3, that's not going to fly well with him. And then he tends to not take what's coming out of your mouth serious. He tends not to trust your information that comes out of your mouth serious as well. So, and with these federal judges, and this is one of the things that I try to educate your boy Sean G. and them on, these judges, these federal judges, have a lot of power and they have a lot of control, and they're going to use it. Some of the federal judges are some of the most powerful judges in this country. And so when you start telling them what they're not going to use and what they can't use, when they hear more of that, they're gonna go and use it. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I try to explain to those people so that they understand, so they don't just jump out there randomly making statements about what they think somebody isn't going to use. That judge in there had total control of what was going on in there, and he let you know it.
Okay, let's take a quick pause here. I just want to tell everybody, thank you guys for tuning in. We have over 200 people here. Please hit the like button at each respective channel that you are in. Share and subscribe. We appreciate all the comments. We're going to allow people to come up and express themselves and ask questions in about 15 to 20 minutes, so bear with us. When you do come on, please show your camera, and welcome on stage DJ Genesis. We look forward to your questions and all you want to contribute to the chat.
Hey, DJ Genesis, long time, girl.
Hey. So my question is, and I think it's really an interesting thing, I want to kind of shake the table when it comes to the Sean G situation, because he said that he wanted to bet you $1,000 that P. Diddy would get time served, that he wouldn't spend no time in prison, and that you didn't know what you was talking about. And he, then he gets on it with his buddy. Look, I've done my own cases, and I got the list right here. I got here. How long have you been a lawyer? Have you done any federal trials and this, that, the other? But okay, so now it's crickets. But you said that you wanted to do a wager, right? And then Mel said, okay, I got 1,000. He said, I got $1,000 wager. Mel said, I got the 1,000. So where's I'm sorry, I'm shaking the table.
Listen, man,
drop that cash app. Get your point.
Drop that cash app, hey man. Put my cash app at the DJ Genesis. Come on, Sean G, with my money.
Show me the money.
Show me
the money, man. Listen, I didn't want to take that away, money. Listen, I didn't want to take his money. I mean, so first of all, you're wrong. Then you come out here with your chest out like a peacock, and then you lose $1,000, man. That he might not be able to recover from that, man. So I ain't want to have to do. I didn't want to take his money like that, man. I didn't want
hashtag
to.
Sean D, where the money?
He said he's a man.
Sean,
he's a man.
Where he's a man. Hashtag everybody put in the comments. Hashtag Sean D. Where's the money? Okay.
Yeah, I was ready. I was ready to go.
And he said, "I'm a man, Judge Submarinian. I'm a man. So be a man and pay your debt." Okay?
Yeah, pay your debt.
I had my 1,000 ready to go long time ago.
Yeah,
you can't say all that stuff and be ready to put some money on the table and then disappear when it's time to ante up. Come on.
I don't bet people like that, man, because I'll turn into Big Red from the 5 Heartbeats. You know what I mean? I want my money. I'm not gonna be playing around. I'm not gonna be playing around. So I'm gonna turn into Big Red. My office hours are 9 to 5.
Okay.
Hey, Calvin, tell everybody where to find you, who you are, man.
Man, my name is Attorney Calvin E. Johnson. I'm a 24-year practicing attorney out of Dallas, Texas. I've done local, state, and federal criminal defense. I've had my own law firm for the last 24 years. I represented Chris Bosh at one of the NBA drafts. I ran Chris Bosh Foundation for a while. Former city council candidate here in Dallas, Texas. I graduated from the High School for Public Services, Government and Law in Dallas, Texas. I hold a political science and history degree from Howard Payne University in Brownwood, Texas, and a law degree from St. Mary's University School of Law, in San Antonio, Texas. So that's me. That's where I'm from. I'm from Dallas, Texas, from the notorious Bonton and Dixon Circle communities, who are two of the toughest communities in the city. God has blessed me with a huge rise, and I'm so thankful to be on this channel and be amongst Mel, DJ Genesis, and That Girl Henny, to talk about stuff tonight. I've come a long way. It's been a long journey. Dues paid. 8 Ball and MJG.
But you don't know nothing about New York law.
Come
You don't know nothing about New York law.
You know that song, Dues Paid?
You don't know nothing about New York, so why you gonna try to come here and tell what's gonna happen?
Hey, listen, Big Daddy Kane is my favorite rapper of all time. I tell people that all the time. I posted a picture here recently. I used to have the high top fade. I know I ain't got no hair now, but I had the cane cut with the parts in high school.
Telling your age now, talking about Big Daddy.
Exactly.
Bill better have my money.
Let me ask you something off topic. Something I've been muddling around in my head with. You know, I'm an older woman. I ain't in my 20s or my 30s. Okay, but I think I did miss what I love because I've always loved like murder programs, court cases, even though sometimes it's like watching paint dry.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about going back to school for paralegal studies, but I don't know about an attorney because I feel like I'm too old to start practicing law.
Listen, you're never too old. If you have a passion for it, you never know where that life is going to lead you. I'm unlike most people. At 7 years old, I knew I wanted to be an attorney. And some people go like, what? At 7 years old, I knew I wanted to be an attorney. And for me, this journey wasn't a matter of if, it was only a matter of when. I mean, I went at it hard. Like, and to come where I come from, and I tell people this all the time, I come from two of the poorest neighborhoods in Dallas, Texas. My parents didn't have a lot of money. My grandparents worked hard. My grandfather worked at a factory. My mom cleaned hospital rooms at Presbyterian Hospital in a mental ward. And then worked a night job, clean office buildings at night. So I made it out of that, but I had a passion for being an attorney. I was told to apply for the high school that I went to. I went to that high school, and it just piqued my interest even more. And if you have a true feeling that you want to be involved in the legal area, you know, go to paralegal school, consider going to law school, because I can tell that you went to a trial, you were educated enough to understand some things, right? And you were able to use your common sense to dissect some things. And I think that would be a huge advantage for somebody to have somebody like yourself on their team. And then in addition to that, you have you love it. You have a feeling for it. You have a passion for it. I can tell you got a passion for it. Anybody that sat through that trial day, week in, week out, for month after month after month, you got that kind of dedication. Hey, just use that dedication to do what you want to do. That's what you're supposed to be doing. If you can do what you just did, come on, man. You got to make that up. You got to try to make that an opportunity for yourself.
I just have one last question. I'm gonna like drop down and let you guys talk because you guys got the details on the deets and the deets and the deets. I just want to come up here and be messy.
I know you're about to go there.
So, anyways, I'm just gonna say one last thing. So, do you think that the new prosecutor, that because the Maureen Comey was taken off the case, do you think that this new prosecutor came in with a fervor? Because everybody was saying that he was a weak prosecutor and this, that, the other. Do you think that he came in like, I'm trying to prove something? Because and do you think that Maureen Comey was probably bought out, like they were trying to say that she was not being as tough as she could have been, and that they brought this new prosecutor in to be tougher than she was?
Well, I think sometimes when you have a loss, like they considered that a loss for the government very rarely loses a case, loses on convictions. I mean, because they have more resources typically, right? Typically, they have all the resources, they have all the marbles, but occasionally they'll run up against somebody like Mr. Combs who can afford really, really good attorneys. And so, and then when you have a new attorney coming in on a high-profile case, of course, people are going to want to step in and prove themselves. So when you have somebody like that coming in, they're going to really try to go in and show that they should be on that case, and that's just kind of how that works. But when it comes to Comey, they probably, because she lost in a sense, that was probably a hard loss for her. But with that being said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think some of the stuff they charged Mr. Combs, it was a far overreach of some of that stuff. He did some stuff that he shouldn't have done. He made some bad decisions, but some of the stuff that they were trying to charge him with, man, it was ridiculous. And you got to be careful too, because coming from our standpoint, when you're an African American man that's almost worth $1 billion, That doesn't really happen ever. And so we always have our eyebrows raised, to be honest with you. So that's something that you just want to think about in the background.
But you know what I found really interesting though? The things that they did charge him with, they left the stuff that would have stuck against the wall on the floor. So I just have had this feeling since, because when they were doing the RICO, my whole thing was, okay, what are the final charges going to be? What are the final predicates that they're going for? Because we heard about so much stuff in those 7 weeks of trial that I knew, okay, this is what they're talking about with that. So that matches with this predicate offense, and this matches with that. And when they finally came down to what they were charging him with, I said, well, I built a better case against him than the government did.
But you know what it is too? You got so much stuff, so much information out there. You can have too much information, number one. And then number two, sometimes you can overload your jury, right? When I say overload your jury, there's so much going on that the jury can't really follow you. And in addition to that, I try to tell people some of the information that they probably would use to prove some of those predicates. Sometimes there's converse information that's bad that would help Puffy. Because you have to realize they didn't call as many witnesses as people thought they probably were going to call, because some of those witnesses probably had problems. Like maybe it's a good witness that Puffy did something to or was involved in some behavior in, but then they look after they interviewed that witness, they go like, oh, but that witness also has this problem, this problem, this problem, and this problem. And so sometimes you can have that happen, and where they can't really go to those predicates because they can't get them in, because if they do, they run the risk of helping Mr. Combs, because you have to realize they have to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. Mr. Combs doesn't have to.
Well, see, there's two of the charges off the top of my head, and two of them that my mind was blown. They didn't go after were the firearms. The serial numbers were scratched off of the firearms. They were on his property. They found a firearm by his bed. Like why not go for the firearms? Why not go for dealing in offensive matters? If we're talking about the freak offs, those things, why not go for blackmail? You had proof that there was a wire sent from Cassie's mom to him. And I mean, yeah, it was sent back. But again, the analogy that I gave on that was you can't go into a bank and rob it and then come back and say, well, here's the money back. I didn't mean it. No, you robbed the bank. So you already had that stuff there, but you went for things that even I myself was sitting here like, that's not going to stick. That I felt like they just built this RICO and was banking on, and I hate to say this, it was an all-woman government team, right? And it felt very Me Too-ish. I can admit that now. I didn't want to say that during the trial because they harped on it. And the reason I say it felt Me Too-ish is because I felt like they banked everything on the Mann Act and the trafficking charges, because they were also predicates in the RICO. So therefore, you have the evidence. And to me, the evidence for the RICO and the Mann Act, I mean, the trafficking and the Mann Act, they kind of were intertwined and went hand in hand. So when the jury came back and said no trafficking, I said, oh no, what they're saying is no RICO, because the trafficking was there. If you found the Mann Act, you found the trafficking. So it just kind of made me feel like, did you really want him?
You know what I'm gonna tell y'all? And I'm glad you said something. You finna touch on something that I might make some people mad. When you said it felt like a bunch of Me Too going on. And what I'm trying to tell people, and I've tried to tell people politically, me and Mel talk politically too, the attitude toward that kind of stuff, I think in America has changed some. And it's not in a way that most people will look at. Like me, look, I have a daughter. I don't want anything to happen to a woman that shouldn't happen to a woman, right? But everybody has to realize that when you accuse a man of something, that man also has a mother. When I say that man has a mother, I want you to think about this, right? Just like you don't want something done to your daughter, you don't want your son to be overcharged.
Right.
You don't want your son to be put in a position, because sometimes as a woman, you might know what other women will do sometimes in terms of creating situations to put people in because you're a woman, and you're also factoring that in. And now your mama bear kick in and you're saying, wait a minute, that's not what we should be doing to people. And then you have to realize this too. If I'm a man on a jury and then I got lawyers coming off very Me Too-ish, a lot of men, they haven't said this, but they don't like some of that Me Too-ish stuff that has happened, and they're not going for it. It's a lot of them won't say it out loud, but I'll say it out now. I've been around people that say, "Nah, man, you know that girl, you know that woman did A, B, and C. You know she was okay with it doing A, B, and C." And I'm telling you, I'm not saying that that's the attitude that I took, but that's an attitude that I see that's out there. And I think in America right now, that Me Too stuff isn't the end all be all, because I try to tell people, just like you don't want something to happen to your daughter, there's a mother out there that don't want their son to get railroaded. And so we have to start thinking about that as men and as women.
Yeah, I agree. And, that was something that I was looking at with the majority male jury. And I was, and again, when the trial is going on, I tried my best to keep my opinions and my personal thoughts out of it and stick to, well, this is what I see. This is what I think is happening based off of this. Now that the trial is over, I can kind of say some of the things that I felt, because it's done. It's over with. He's sentenced. That's it. And that was just one of the things that, again, once it came down, what the jury was going back to deliberate, I said, okay, I see where you're going with this. All right. And because from the jump, I was saying they're going to get him for the Mann Act. They're going to get him for the trafficking because it's there. And then especially after we saw the evidence of the text messages, I'll get the entertainment. You get the entertainment. I'll get the room. And then we see the plane tickets, the hotel room. We see everybody moving. We could see the moving pieces on paper and who was paying for it and how it was being paid for. And even with that, I was looking, well, why weren't there any type of anything on the business? No taxes, none of that. I mean, he was using business funds to pay his Amex card that was funding this lifestyle. So where is that? So it raised my eyebrow a lot at what were we really looking at with this RICO, but it didn't take away from what I heard and what I saw in the case. And I want to be very clear with that, because a lot of people felt like, oh, she just wants to see him locked up. No, I sat in that courtroom. I saw a lot of this stuff. I heard, I read for myself in that courtroom a lot of things. I watched these witnesses testify. I watched body language. I listened to fluctuation in tones, and I did all of that. So I was able to make an educated guess or hypothesis rather on what was going on. And I can't walk away from, just because this is over here, I can't walk away from all of that over there when it plays into his character. It plays into a pattern of behavior. And I knew all of that stuff. Not only that, I told people, while people keep trying to say between Cassie and Jane, there was a gap. To the public, there was a gap. But the evidence that the judge got to see and read that we didn't was Gina and how she bridged everything together. Chef Jordan and how that all came together. He got to weigh that evidence in when making his decision. So for him, there is no statute of limitation. And people don't realize this. When you're talking about a pattern of behavior that spanned decades and you have victims and witnesses that can account for this, there's no statute for that now, because it's creating a picture. And with the picture that we saw, I'm glad that the judge said, no, your voices were heard, and this is what we're giving him. I'm glad he did that.
Exactly.
But the RICO, I was very flabbergasted by what they were doing there.
And see, that's the thing. And then the other part of it you have to realize is there is a anti-government bias going on in America right now. People don't trust the government. I mean, and sometimes you think from the left there's an anti-government bias. There's anti-government bias from the right too. There's a lot of the MAGA folks that go like, man, the government doing this and they setting folks up, and I'm not going to be down with just rubber stamping everything that they're trying to do. And so when you have those particular situations, a jury can go in and say, hey, we're not going to allow y'all to just rubber stamp all of this stuff and to have that happen. We're not going to do that. And so we also have to take that into account, the mindset of the public, the jury pool, and what they're going to do.
Okay, so Calvin, I just want to hit on one point here. I want to see what your thoughts are in regards to the future, right? One of the things the judge pointed out right at the outset when he was going through the acquitted conduct, maybe you could expound on that, but he made a clear point that even though he was acquitted of the charges, right? He wasn't acquitted per se of all the conduct. The conduct still could be used, not the charges. What are your thoughts on that?
And see, what I try to explain to people is that prior bad act situation, right? And when we talk about prior bad acts and behaviors, that's the biggest argument that I had with Sean G. and I had with the other guy that was on there with him, saying what they can use and what they can't use. And I tried to explain to them. And just like you said, that girl Henny, the situation with the chef and all of the stuff with Gina and some of the other stuff, that's considered a prior bad act. That's considered a prior bad behavior. And they can use those things. It doesn't have to be something that's like a crime. It can be an act or a pattern or behavior. Those judges, like I said before, they can use a lot of leeway when they hear all of this evidence, and they're going to take everything into account. I think when you have people that come on the internet and tell you that they can't take it into account, I think that's foolish, because they're going to. We're all humans. You can't hear that somebody kicked somebody here like a football and you're going to just, oh, I'm going to forget about that. I'm not going to use it in the sentencing. Of course you are. But you're human, and your job is to judge people. And when you see things like that, you're going to use that to judge people. So we should be honest about that, and we got to open our eyes to what's going on when it comes to just people in general.
The attorney said that Diddy is out of money. Diddy also said in court he's out of money. They also stated that he has over 100 civil cases. In my personal opinion, which I don't like to express often, I would say cut back on all these attorneys. Keep your money. You have all your kids. Take what you have to take care of them and try to navigate your civil cases. What are your thoughts about that? Because it seems like if he does this appeal and he keep all these attorneys and so forth and so on, it seems like a nightmare.
Yeah, he needs to leave the criminal part alone. He needs to pivot and try to save his empire, because the civil suits are the ones that are more dangerous. They need to be handled properly. He needs to get those things put to bed. He needs to do whatever time he needs to do and get on back home and leave the appeal part alone. I think when you do an appeal, that can be extremely costly, number one. And number two, it doesn't allow you to move past your situation. I think what Mr. Combs needs to do is take the drug program that they're going to have him take, try to cut as much time as possible off his sentence. Maybe he can do another couple of years and come home if he does everything like he's supposed to. And then when he comes home, then he needs to just get back in the saddle and do what he needs to do. I think the more that he tries to appeal it and the more he tries to fight that kind of stuff, we shouldn't be doing that. Let's not do that, right? Let's not do that at all. I think he needs to corral his resources, figure out what he can in his empire that he can save. What is he making money doing? And try to use whatever that is to try to get where he needs to be.
Calvin, do you think there should be some reform? And then I'm going to give it back to you, Henny, okay? Do you think there should be... No, it's okay. I want to hear you rock out. Do you think there should be some reform when it comes to being able to use acquitted conduct?
I don't, in a sense, because you're getting a picture of a person, right? And I think that when you're determining as a judge what you're going to do, how you're going to even police that, number one. Number two, you're looking at a person and their conduct to determine whether they've learned, whether they will offend again, whether they'll offend in the future, and did they learn anything from what they've done. And I think that you gotta take a snapshot of their past to determine what you think they're going to do. Because one of the things that you want to do as a federal judge is you want to give somebody a sentence enough to make sure that they understand that they have been punished. You want to protect the public from it happening again. And you want to do enough to get the person's attention to hope that they decide that they're not going to continue in the behaviors that cause them to be in the situation that they're in. So I don't think that you can reform when it comes to that. I think what you've done is what you've done. It's not always what you're charged with. So If they're going to bring up the good things that you did do, they're also going to bring up the bad things that you did. And I think it's all fair game.
Okay. I noticed that when the judge gave his final rendering, it seemed like he went through a whole typed up pages and he had it all down to a T. It wasn't like any of it was something that he thought for the moment, right? And I did notice that when he asked for the 5 minutes, I felt like he was going back to make the adjustment of time. This is my private speculation. Do you think that's the case? He pretty much came there with his mind made up, and maybe he tweaked it a little bit based on what Diddy said, his kids said, but for the most part, everything was written in stone.
I think he gave it a base level, and I think he was going to give a few months up or a few months down based on what he heard. That's what smart judges would do. You're going to give a base level of what you think you're going to do, so you don't have to be up there thinking about the whole entire range. You've read the reports. So if he came in at 70 or 60, he's thinking like, I can go down 20 up 10, down 20 up 20, depending on what he thought. And I think that he heard enough to where he got down to the 50-month range. But I think he probably had a range in his head when he came in there. And then he probably went down from there based off what he heard and what he saw that day. Ultimately, I think that the lawyers themselves did a good job fighting the case. But I think that when it came to managing his expectations and his behavior at the sentencing, after he got found guilty, and how they approached the sentencing, I would have done differently. I would have made sure that Mr. Combs understood that, hey, there's a potential that you could do more time. I would not have let him plan to do any events after he'd gotten out. That would have never gotten out. That right there. Listen, if he would have told me, I'm planning to go do this a week after sentencing, man, we might have broke out in a fight right then and there.
Okay,
we might have, because there's no way I was
right.
going to plan to do that.
Let me give you a little breakdown to that real quick, and then I'll back out. So basically, I think Brian Steele, he said that Donaldson, the tall black bald-headed attorney, he would explain what happened in regards to that. So when Donaldson got up, he kind of took the heat for it and said, listen, I set this up for him to do teaching. It's not some money-making event. He's going to be teaching through this network. And it turned out that this network was a nonprofit organization, seemed to be headed by an ex-con or felon, what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had him come into the courtroom. The judge really didn't want it to happen because he said, listen, I have this guy's letter. I don't really want to bring him on. Donaldson really pressed it. He was like, okay, bring him in for 2 minutes. The guy comes in, black fella, and he gives his spiel, right? But check this out. I want to go there, right? I want to get your real opinion. This is independent media, but I'm going to talk to you straight, okay? Basically, most of the people that run the big media around the courthouse are really affluent white people. And in fact, to be at the highest level of media, in fact, the people that they choose to come on some of the big networks, what they look at first, right, is how many followers you have. Then they'll make an exception to put somebody on that may be of a different shade, okay? So in the courtroom, the people that get into the courtroom are usually affluent Caucasian people. And so now you're bringing in a pastor that's black. We're already sitting in church pews. He's halfway giving you the church vibe. Then they bring in a professional that wants to have Diddy come teach at his program. First thing he say, I'm an ex-con. These people are not buying that. So why would you bring this type of show on a day when, listen, we're living in a world we're highly judged, brother. I'm just giving it to you straight. Yeah. I know people don't want to hear what I'm saying, but to me, you have to be able to read the room.
Yeah, man, that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have brought somebody in there like that. See, those are the kinds of mistakes that would not have happened. And I wouldn't have let, even if I'm on that team, another attorney do that. I'm like, man, we're not doing that. Because I think it's not the right messenger to get the kind of sentence you want. And what I also think it does is it kind of takes the vibe off of contrition. And you want to make sure that the audience that you're talking to is getting talked to by somebody that they'll accept information from. Those guys that are sitting in that courtroom, and even that judge, they're not trying to hear something from somebody who's an ex-con at that point. They don't want to hear from that person. Nothing against what that person went through, but in that situation, it's just not appropriate. And that's something that shouldn't have happened. And if I was on that team, that wouldn't have happened.
His 2 minutes turned to like maybe 9 to 10 minutes to the judge. Was like, okay, thank you. Like, enough is enough, right?
Yeah, man, that's a big moment. I mean, do you want? Let's be honest, right? Your life's on the line, right? How long have you even known that person? I don't want somebody, and that's another thing that I think we're missing here, right? If I'm going to have somebody come testify for me, bring my lifelong friend, bring somebody who knows what I am and who I am. Don't bring somebody who does some program who really doesn't know me, and I'm going to put them up there to speak when my life's on the line. I just don't think that is something that was smart, and it wouldn't have happened if I was representing Mr. Combs.
Well, I feel like, like, again, reading it through Inner City Press, I wasn't moved by Nicole Westmoreland. I was very uncomfortable and very like, what is going on that you are sitting here crying
Lord have mercy.
and presenting? That was a mess to me. It was a mess. But when the kids got up there, even though I wasn't in the courtroom, it had me sitting there like, oh, watching the video. I'm like, wow, he did do a lot. And, when you talk about the judge possibly going back and, changing some of these months that he was thinking, I do agree that I think maybe the children did play a part in it, especially being that he said, thank you. I needed to hear that. Right. But in the back of my mind, as soon as we went to the next thing, it was like, Cassie, the Intercontinental Hotel, the gash in her forehead, the bruise behind the makeup, like all of that just came flooding back into my memory, because I'm not gonna lie, I almost got swept up in it myself. Like, dang, okay, yeah, just give them I almost got swept up because it was real emotional. I don't want to say it was scripted because those are the kids, and I really feel like those are their real emotions. But I also know the defense's job is to come in there and we got to put this on. You've got to do this. So I understand what they were doing. It was pulling at the heartstrings. And I was like, oh, and then baby love. I'm like, oh, but then I'm like, wait, that's his family. What about Cassie? Cassie said she's got nightmares. She still got night terrors. Her husband still has to help her work through this. She tried to walk in front of a truck. What about Jane? What about what Jane's son went through? And then Jane's baby daddy, being who her kid's father is, what she's dealing with in the trolling department of things, or probably even the legal aspects, because he's already threatened legal actions against her. And it just started spiraling in my head as I'm waiting for the next tweet to come in. All the stuff that I heard in trial just flooded right on back. So it was like, it was good for the moment because it pulled me in. But then as soon as it was over, everything else and why we were there came flooding right back into the memory. So I do think that did cut some of those months down. I do.
And see, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of stuff, just like I said, if my life on the line, I'm putting my kids up there who I done put everything into. I'm not putting some random ex-con who I don't really have a relationship up there. That was wasted time. And, that was wasted time. And that was also wasted moments. And that's why I said, no, get the kids up there. And then the defense attorney crying, especially you're a woman up there representing, that was not appropriate. I know you get emotional, you work hard, but I think that maybe she shouldn't have done that. You can get emotional, but that crying and boo-hooing, I don't think that served him any justice when it came to that. I don't think that did him any good with that.
Agnifilo cried too earlier on in the trial, by the way.
I could see, I could see some of that because it's very emotional when you're fighting hard for somebody. But to have a woman cry in a situation like that when Mr. Combs has been accused of doing certain things, that's not a good look, because what the judge will see is, oh, he's manipulated her to feeling sorry for him.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want that, man. That's a bad look.
And then the thing is, she's also a survivor.
Mm.
So that popped in my head like, did you get played as a survivor? Like, I'm a survivor, okay? And let me tell you, it took a lot of work for me to be able to sit and think rationally on things without my emotions being attached to it, because it's hard when you're a survivor. But if you do the work, I'm here to tell you, you can do it. You can have a functioning life. Does it always go all the way away? No, it never goes away. It tainted the very fabric of who you are, but you do have a life after that. You can have a life after that. But I felt like, did he play on that? Because even for her to speak when the verdict came in and all of that, and for her to say, oh no, I wouldn't be representing him if he didn't change. He's a changed man. Girl, do you not understand gaslighting? Do you not? Because when I look back at that apology after the video came out about him at the hotel, I just felt gaslit by him.
Yeah.
Because you just told us that Cassie was a liar.
Bingo.
Now this video comes out, and now you're telling, I'm so disgusted with myself.
Yeah. A lot of people put themselves out in the street for you, and then we got ran over.
Right. And I just also felt like too many lawyers spoke. Like at one point, I'm at home and I started playing a clip from Dave Chappelle when he had the Wrap It Up box. I started playing that because I'm like, come on. This shouldn't take 8 hours. Like, why does everybody? But then when you sit down and you break down the strategy of each lawyer, you look at each aspect that they attacked. They came out playing chess. Like, we're going to talk about the emotional aspect. We're going to talk about the constitutional aspect. You're going to pull on this aspect. So I got it, but I just felt like it was overkill. It was way too much.
Yeah. And that happens sometimes because you got a lot of people wanting to be in the limelight at the end. And then sometimes you got a mix of strategies. But I try to tell people that's one of the risks you run when you have a large defense team. Sometimes I've been on defense teams where things work. I've also been on defense teams where we're butting heads about stuff. So sometimes that can happen when you have a large defense team on a huge case that's been going on for months. Sometimes you're going to have that. Everybody's going to want a little limelight.
Let me tell you how sharp the judge was, right? The defense painted this picture like Diddy was a changed man. And so the judge basically broke it down. He says, listen, you came out with a video apologizing, saying that, this and that. And then after that, you beat Jane to a pulp. You knocked doors down, right? Not only that, when they arrested him, they showed us where Homeland Security showed there was baby oil in the room. It was freak off prepared.
But remember, Jane testified. They told us that Jane told the government that he had contacted her and was trying to get a freak off before he turned himself in with her.
Yeah. And the judge said there was another freak off after he knew that after Jane was investigated and spoke to by the agents, they went right back and they just changed the location of the freak offs as to try to get away from getting caught further. But the judge was on point. I mean, this guy, but I felt like he dropped those numbers down. He could have went with 70 with the probation. He went with 50, I think, with the appeal. So my final question, I'm going to back out.
Hold on. Before you ask the final question, we're going to just give this poll real quick. They just did a poll and we asked, should Sean G pay Cal and Milk they $1,000 or should he apologized for being wrong? So it was almost unanimous. At first, it was 100%. So it ended up being 67%. B better have my money, and 33%. An apology should suffice. So you just want to let you guys know that little tidbit.
Hey y'all, let me say something real quick.
I think he should do both. I think he should do both. Apologize and pay you your money.
Let me tell y'all this. When all of that happened, I kind of was reserved about it, and people were actually kind of surprised that I was so reserved about what was going on that night because I kind of saw what was happening. And I've seen guys that have been to the joint before go to the feds, be angry about it, and they will come out and think that they know as much as a practicing attorney. But at the same time, I ain't gonna lie, I got my feelings a little bit about it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I look at myself, I could have taken a lot of bad, wrong decisions in my life, right? I could have I grew up in a neighborhood where drugs were being sold, people were making lots of money. I had opportunities to do wrong, and I didn't take those opportunities, right? And instead, after watching everybody else take those opportunities and go to state jail and go to the feds, I said, I'm going to be the lawyer. And so I made the decision at that point to where I was going to become an attorney. I did all the stuff I needed to do, and I'm an attorney. And what kind of pissed me off, because I'm gonna be real with you, we're gonna be real petty right now. I had somebody coming on telling me what I don't get to do. And my whole deal was, I've made the right decision. You let them trick you out your position. They use you, G. You know what I'm saying? You let them infiltrate, and they use you, G. Like New Jack City, you let them infiltrate. Me, on the other hand, I avoided all of that. I became an attorney. Yeah, I get to come over here and do that because I did the right thing. I went and got the education. I went and got the knowledge, and I care about my clients, and I care about the people that come on this show because your reputations are important to me, and also the people that watch this show to get this information. So don't come around here just because you're trying to get some followers on YouTube and start giving people bad legal advice, man. People taking your legal advice and going and using it and ended up going down there and get more time. Don't do that, man. I'm just being real with you. I ain't trying to be. I'm being petty, but I'm not being petty. But don't
being factual.
I'm being factual. Don't do that, bro. And if you don't want me to call you your brother, I won't be your brother. But with that being said, don't go on out giving faulty information to people, man, and they using that information and they can end up getting themselves more time. And that's why we got to be careful. This whole show, when we started this, we were talking about Diddy and what we thought was going to happen. And that girl, Henny, you went and did your research. You did your work. Mel, you went to court every day. You did your research and you did your work. You shared every single thing, every single moment of that courtroom with me. And you explained everything to me that was going on. I did my own research. I watched what I could watch and see what I could see. I took the information that everybody gave me and I put it in my little mini computer upstairs in my head. And I got within one damn month of getting a proper sentence. And I was able to do that based off y'all work. Yeah. I was able to do that based off y'all work.
I'm about to take my notes and see if I can turn that into something because I have 4 legal notepads, front and back of the pages, 3 composition notebooks, front and back of the pages, filled with notes from this trial. But not only was I writing what people were saying and all of that, I was also writing, like, as I'm looking around the room, people's emotions, what they were giving off when they reacted to things, how many people were really into this, how many people were shaking their heads. I was really documenting the moment. And it got so much so that people that were sitting, because I was in the overflow most of the time, Mel was upstairs on the 26th floor, people were saying, I would kill to know what you have in that notebook, because even when there was nothing to write, you were still writing. Because I wanted to remember this moment. So now I keep looking at these books. They're on my headboard. Every night I look at these books, these notes, and I'm like, I need to do something with them.
Turn them into
so
something.
I'm probably going to be contacting you very soon to find out what I can legally and can't do legally with the notes that I've taken, because that's an experience. You got to think, this was a moment. Okay. It was a moment for us in our community. It was a moment in hip hop. This was a moment. Yeah. And we were there. Like me and Mel, we were there every day. Rain, sleet, snow, hail. We was there. And I was outside every day, 3-4 times a day, giving commentary and reading my notes to everybody. And I really want to not let that moment be in vain.
And I'm glad you're saying this, because it's the human side of it that we need to talk about. I try to explain to people, Puffy for us and some of us, I'm a little older than some on the panel, but I go back to Puffy with Andre Harrell. Like
Same.
Andre Harrell is the OG. He was in Crush Groove. I mean, Andre Harrell, I go back to Puffy and Father MC and Mary J. Blige and Prince Marky D, and when he was with Uptown. And
Okay,
then
look,
to
Calvin, I'm
Biggie.
46. Okay, so I'm
Yeah,
right
you
there
know,
with you.
you're right there with me. So we go back, and Puffy, along the way, we've grown with him as he's aged, we've aged, and we went from basically hip hop dancing all the way to where he's doing Rock the Vote and owning billion-dollar liquor companies, being involved with billion-dollar liquor companies, and being one of the most affluent African Americans in the entire country that happens to be African American. I mean, it's where hip hop started in a sense, and how far it went monetarily and culturally. That's how important this moment in this case was. Now, we hate some of the negative stuff that has happened along that way, but I'm glad, Henny, that you documented what was going on in that courtroom, because when you do that, you also in your mind have what happened before we got to this point. And then in the moment, what are people feeling? What are they seeing? What are they saying? Are they cringing? Are they sighing? Are they shaking their head? I can read their thoughts. And it's one of those things where I'm glad you did that. And I would imagine that there's something that you can do with that to bring the audience closer to the experience that you just had.
Yeah, because I can for sure 100% tell you that everybody that is now running around saying free Puff was not saying that during this trial. They did not start saying that until after that verdict came down. There was emotion in the room. In the upstairs in 26, you weren't allowed to do a lot that we were allowed to do on the 24th. So as the verdict was coming out, and they said on count 1, Rico not guilty. Woo! Count 2, trafficking, not guilty. Woo! Mann Act, guilty. All of that was going on in the courtroom, and I'm looking and I'm like, y'all were just sitting here talking about how a piece of crap he was yesterday. Y'all were just saying all of this stuff before lunch. And now this verdict comes out and you're celebrating. That's not what you were saying. There were conversations going on about the things that we have already heard rumored to be murmured behind the scenes, what was going on. They were having conversations about all of that. And then all of a sudden it's this switch that went off, and then people started, aggressively dealing with other people. And I'm looking and I'm like, it wasn't like this before this verdict came down. A lot of people have switched because he was found not guilty on 2 charges. He did not win, in my opinion. He did not win because he did not walk out of those golden doors. He did not walk out of MDC that day. He was found not guilty of 2 serious charges, but he went back to the MDC where it's alleged that everybody was clapping because he beat the RICO, which is something to applaud, right? Because it was a BS RICO, number 1. But it's something major when you beat a RICO. But the fact of the matter is, while we went home and we were out eating or celebrating or we're doing whatever we were doing, he was back in the MDC, back in his beige uniform, back in his cell. That's not a win. He didn't win.
And see, that's the thing. And that's where you have to break down to people. And that's why I'm careful about my predictions and what I thought was happening with the case, right? Because I was trying to tell people what I'm doing is not a feeling. It's kind of watching instances of people's behavior, looking at what I know as an attorney, looking at the possible ranges, looking at my experiences with judges, and then saying, without saying if you like Puffy or not, honestly, what do you think is going to happen? Taking all of your emotions out of it, or any leanings that don't come from your knowledge out. And that's what I came up with. Because on one hand, as a black man, anytime the government goes after you, you be wanting another black man to beat the government because you feel like, hey man, they went after him. But then as a father who has a daughter, I have sisters. You have a mother. You go like, dang, man, he tried to punt her like a football. And so, you know, all of those feelings are there. So I tried to be careful with that girl, Henny. I tried to really be careful with that. And then I used to have people, and we remember, Mel, we had people that were really in their feelings when they were arguing for or against Puffy. And I had to tell them, I said, hey, my feelings are not going to change based on how I feel about him, whether I like him or not. As a lawyer, I have to say, hey, this is what I think is going to happen. And then on top of that, as a human being, I have standards, right? We all have standards.
Right.
And I wouldn't want somebody to kick my daughter's head like football. But I also have to understand that I must forgive folks for doing wrong. So that's two sides of a coin.
Well, you know what, you gave a legal and expert analysis. And that's the difference between someone like you and someone like myself. You have that experience. You have that know-how. Off the top of your head, you can say something and be right on the money. And I think, I'm just going to be honest, it was highly disrespectful and insulting to you as a man, to your intelligence, to the years of dedication that you've put into your craft, to go head to head to make it seem like you didn't know what you were talking about, especially from someone who doesn't even have half of the legal experience that you have.
You know what bothered me the most? You know what bothered me the most about it? And I'll say this, that he was another brother.
Yeah.
Because the disrespect that I get from my own people, those are the things that bother me the most, that we don't respect each other. Would he have done a white lawyer like that?
No, because he's praising the Mark Agnifilos and Mark Garagos and Teeny Garagos and Alexandra Shapiro and Jason Driscoll. He's praising that whole legal team over there. And what I found offensive as a sister watching it is when you said, brother, don't call me brother. I'm not your brother. You don't know the arrogance of it all.
Yeah.
You really that invested? It makes one wonder, are you on payroll? No, I'm for real. Are you on payroll? Because in the beginning, you weren't pro Diddy, but then you changed up after certain conversations with people happened. And I noticed this, and I'm not going to put no names out there, but I'm going to be a little messy. A lot of people had one opinion. And then when particular people that were part of Diddy's camp spoke to them on the side or gave them an exclusive interview, all of a sudden they switched.
Bingo.
Me, you want to know what I was told by that same person? You called it down the middle from the beginning, and you stayed in the middle, and you couldn't be swayed.
Bingo.
That's right. I couldn't be swayed because I think for myself. I don't listen, my soul is not for sale. My integrity is not for sale. My intellect is not for sale. Because I'm going to tell you something. It took a lot for me to accept that I'm an intelligent person who loves to research and who loves to get to the why of things. I used to hide that because I was one of the girlies. I was out there mobbing and thugging, okay, doing stuff in them streets. And I had to hide that because I couldn't be that and be out there. I couldn't let people know that I was going home and reading books and going to the library, researching stuff and letting people know that I loved when we had reports to do in class because I get to dig into history. Exactly. I couldn't let people know that because that wasn't cool.
You know what?
I'm not going to sell out for nobody. I'm going to think for myself. And if you agree, you agree. And if you don't, you don't. But don't attack me because there was a lot of sneak dissing that was going on that I heard. Okay. That was going on because of what I was saying and how I was presenting things. But one thing about me is I stand on it. Whatever it is, I stand. If I'm wrong, I don't have a problem saying I was wrong. And I let people know up front. My opinion on something is susceptible to change based off of what is presented to me. I let people know that. But when you take a stance so hard like that to where you will insult people, insult their profession, insult their integrity, are you on payroll? Because if you are, you need to call your boss and tell him that you owe Calvin $1,000 because you lost the bet.
You know what You know what I noticed in the courtroom, just being there every day for so long? A lot of people in that audience, they would say, "Oh, Diddy did not do any domestic violence. Diddy did not do any drugs." And then Diddy come out and says, "I'm sorry for domestic violence. I'm sorry for doing drugs." If you listen to the people that's sitting there observing, they would have you thinking you're crazy. Something's wrong with you because you sat there and you heard the evidence, and they want you to believe something different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you brought up evidence. They weren't even speaking. A lot of them were not even talking about all of the evidence. They're still running with the narrative that Diddy chased Cassie down the hallway at the Intercontinental because she stole his phone. That was her phone. He took her phone and her bags from her. And then he football punted her. And I even heard that same person y'all talking about on their channel saying, a conversation saying, the video wasn't that bad. It wasn't that. Okay, so then let your daughter, your sister, your mother get football punted and stomped. Let them get a gash over their forehead that's deep. Let them have permanent scarring all up and down their body. And then you tell us that it's not that bad. You understand? So it's like people were going really hard to try to spin a narrative. And it was driving me crazy because we sat in the courtroom. We saw the evidence.
And you know what I'm going to tell you? One of the things that I noticed, and I saw the individual who attacked me on our podcast, I saw him on another podcast talking, and I realized, I said, man, this guy's going out trying to make some money. He's trying to make some money. He's trying to make a name for himself, or he's chasing that internet clout. And that's one thing that I don't want to do. And me and Mel, we have these conversations about, we want to bring people on like yourself that are going to do the work. We want to provide good information that people can use in the future. Man, we don't want to come on here and give bad information and put people in bad positions and do a lot of that foolishness. That's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to be, chatty patties about stuff. We want people to get good information. Because what I don't want to happen, and this is the thing too, I see a lot of shows, I see a lot of people build themselves as internet personalities, and they try to have these gotcha moments with legitimate people to try to legitimize their points of view. And honestly, I think that's what Sean G was doing. I mean, honestly, outside of going to the feds and getting caught up in that scheme, like legally, what else have you done? So you can't get on here with an attorney that's been practicing as long as I have and go at that attorney like that. And then as a brother, I think that's the thing that bothered me the most. You know, I addressed him as my brother. I address all my brothers as my brothers. I love my brothers, period, whether we disagree with each other or not. And to get met with that kind of disdain, you know, was disappointing. But at the same time, some people you don't want to be brothers with, and unfortunately, I don't like Mr. G's character. I don't like how he's handled himself, and he's right. I'm not his brother.
Hey.
So, Calvin, here's the big question I had for you earlier. I wanted to ask, as far as the appeal go, let's say if Diddy wins the appeal, does that have a negative effect on the judge? It seems that the judge worked so hard to insulate so that the appeal would not go through. So it made me wonder.
If he was, it could look bad on the judge, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I just don't see him winning an appeal. And then to be honest with you, if Mr. Combs wins an appeal, they could go do the whole sentencing over with? Do it over where he could expose himself to more time? Does he think that everybody's going to take all of that information that came out in that trial and give him less time? He just really needs to move on from that. And then you have to think about it like this. And let's say they overturn a sentence and that judge isn't going to be the judge doing the sentencing. They send it to somebody else. Do you think them judges are going to get together and be like, hey, you know what? This guy really thinks come on, man. Sean, you got to understand the position you're in, my brother. Man, do that time. Hurry up and get on back to the house. Leave that appeal stuff alone. Move on, man. And I always try to tell people, man, you're not your worst moment. You know, you did a lot for the culture. You did a lot for the people of New York. You're inspirational to a lot of us. Man, move on, man. Just get past this and move on and go get back to being you, the real you, the Sean we met in the beginning.
And the judges very rarely, I want to ask you this because you dealt with federal, they very rarely cross over one another. Am I correct?
Bingo. And that's what I'm saying. Why would you go back, try to get resentenced? Man, they're gonna make it worse. So, like, what are you doing? Like, man, put this thing to bed and move on.
Now, could they also counter appeal?
They could. You know what, the state,
the government, could they counter if they appeal? If Diddy's lawyers appeal, can they counter appeal?
They're gonna get a say so in it. Their side is gonna be told, which you don't want to happen. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Is like they get a crack at the egg again. They thought that they had an egg that was going to give them more eggs. They only got 50. They were seeking 136. Right. Why would you give them another opportunity to get more eggs?
Right.
No. Stop. And see, it's stuff like that. But see, here's the rub. And if Mr. Combs is watching this, you got to watch your lawyers too. They'll encourage you to appeal because they know you can make them some more money.
That part.
And man, don't do that, man. Get you some good legal advice. Like if it's me, and if I made a good amount of money off you, I've represented you, I'm gonna, hey, Mr. Combs, listen, I wouldn't do that. It's too much risk for you. You're not gonna be able to move forward, man. Let's try to get you home as quick as possible. Let's try to get this cut down as much as possible. Let's try to see if there's a possibility that some of this can be done on house arrest. Let's try to get these programs done so you can get home sooner. That's what I would do, man. Trying to do an appeal, man, don't do that. You're just going to rehash it. You got to go through sentencing again, potentially. You got to have your kids come up there. You got to have these women come up here and boo-hoo and cry and relive what they've been through. Be smart. Move on.
Yeah, I agree.
And one part of
women, did you see Gina, Mel? Because
no,
she was there.
I didn't see her.
Yeah, she showed up to court, which to me, I'm questioning why, if she didn't answer the subpoena, has she not had to answer for any repercussions? Because if I got subpoenaed and I didn't show up to court, I would be in trouble right now.
But I think they didn't want to seem like they were going after the woman and they were going overboard. Because I think that's probably what they were thinking. And like I said, I mean, just the fact that she had to avoid that, like the positions you put everybody else in too, Mr. Combs, you got to think about that. Like the people who didn't show up, like Gina didn't show up, and you got your family, you got to throw your kids back up there. You got to be like, hey man, let me go and knock these little couple of years out the way, man, and get on back to the house. And that's kind of what you need to really do, because it's just too much risk involved, man. Way too much risk involved.
This case was basically chiseled, focused on Cassie and Jane Doe for the most part, right?
Yes.
All these civil cases coming up, do you think his verdict, his sentencing will affect his civil cases?
I think they can a little bit, because they did find him guilty of some things. And when you get found guilty of some things, they're going to say some of that behavior is related to your tort claims of misconduct and so on and so forth. I think that it can have an influence on it. But I think in the civil courts, I think his lawyers will be able to show other stuff to try to get him around some of it. I think it would be smart to settle some of it if he can, and try to get out of that as much as possible. I think the civil exposure is where he could have some issues he needs to be very careful about, because, man, you get a jury that gives too much of a verdict in a civil case, it can destroy you financially. And so he needs to be very careful about trying to get out of that. He needs to get going and try to get around those civil cases. He needs to get out of the criminal, because once again, the more you talk about that, the more exposure he has. He needs to go on and try to focus on his civil cases, get his life back together and get rolling.
He had 3 businesses, I guess, came out in court, and Cassie's one lawsuit of $20 million pretty much took those out. It came out in court on Friday that he don't have those businesses. His money is gone. What do you say about that?
Man, Mr. Combs got some money somewhere. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, if I ever made that much money, I'm putting some money somewhere where nobody know where it's at. Because you gotta have a golden parachute, man. Like, that's why I never understood. I ain't trying to be funny. I've worked, do a lot of criminal defense work, a lot of these drug dealers and so on and so forth. I'm like, man, you didn't have a golden parachute? Man, I'm gonna have something somewhere put up somewhere somehow, man. If I go do some time, and let's say I made 10 million doing this wrong, man, I'm gonna take a couple of mil, I'm gonna put them somewhere ain't nobody gonna know where it's at. Or when I come home, I can be able to go access it. But I don't understand how these guys don't do that. Like, I don't understand that. But I think in Mr. Combs' situation, he also has enough smart financial people around him to where he set some things up, some annuities and some things and some trusts and some things that will pay him certain amounts of money every month to where he can maintain at least a low level of way of living. I think he'll be able to do that. He won't live the lavish life that he has been living, but I think he can still live a very comfortable life. He's just going to have to kind of cut down on some things. And then he's still Sean Puffy Combs. Will people work with him as much? No, but if he still owns some of his masters, some of the stuff that goes on with that, we'll see what that's worth. But I think he'll be okay one way or the other.
Okay. One other thing, the day his verdict hit, I thought that if he had walked out of that building, he would have been like a mini god. You know, it was so many people that were against him, just as that girl Henny said, but they had switched shifts, right? Do you think if he walks out of prison in 2 years, 3 years, you think he still have that much impact?
I think he'll still have some impact. I think people will look at it that he did beat some of the case, but I think they will also look at the fact that he did get convicted and he did do some time, because when you get convicted and you get let home, you go home is one way to look at it. But when you get convicted and you still got to go do 2 years, 2.5 years before you come to the house, you didn't beat all the charges, you beat most of it. And I think that Mr. Combs is a very smart and talented person when it comes to music and understanding the music business and also how to get people to believe in him. And I think he's going to continue to be that. But I think less people will be willing to work with him because of his past. And I think ultimately he probably needs to take what he's earned, put it up as much as he can, and just live life moving forward from there. It's going to be hard to do any kind of businesses and music and liquor and entertainment that he had been doing in the past. I think that's going to be very hard for him to do.
All right. Very good. Henny, any more questions before we close out?
No, I don't have any more questions right now. I'm good.
All right. Very good. Calvin, thank you so much for tonight. We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, man.
I know your time is very valuable, so thank you. Would you like to close out for us? And thank you to everybody in the audience, by the way, too. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Calvin, take us away.
Well, first of all, tonight was about bringing receipts, right? And it's one thing about the internet, and that's why you got to be careful. All these guys I heard jumping on these podcasts saying a bunch of stuff, and then later on coming back trying to retract it. No, you said what you said. You were wrong. You were clearly wrong. You were all the way off base. And the reason why we know that is because the internet has receipts. People are going to go back and they're going to be able to play what you said. But I think more importantly, when it comes to taking in internet content, you got to show like me and Mel and that girl Henny with us tonight. She does great work in making sure that she does the research, that she does what she's supposed to do. Mel does a lot of research. He's actually in the house making sure that he's there when stuff is happening. He does a lot of prep work. He makes sure that when he jumps on this camera, that we're giving people really good information, not biases, but information. And that's one thing that I want to try to impart to people that are listening tonight. This whole experience of watching what happened to me on the show, what happened, watching what happened to everybody on the show, even that girl Henny, some of the stuff she dealt with, because people had these little biases and these little bends. I want y'all to understand, when you're getting information, you want good information that takes the feeling out so that you can truly do what's best for you. Don't get on the internet when these people start talking about what they've done before and this and that. Listen, you got an attorney that's been doing it for 24 years. You got two unbiased people on the screen with you right now that really did the grunt work, the daily work, that tried to stay down the middle for the most part. And that's what you want. You want good information. You don't want slant. But once again, the internet never loses. Tonight, on the Legal Review with Calvin Johnson and Mel Smith, we brought the receipts. So when y'all come back, hey, tell people to like and subscribe. Tell people to like and subscribe to That Girl Henny and also DJ Genesis. More importantly, Mel, closing to you, brother. I met you through going through this Diddy trial. We got a lot more trials to go through. But, man, you are an upstanding individual. You are a man about your business. You're a solid dude in a world full of jello. So I will tell you, man, keep doing what you're doing. Their Girl Henny, was great meeting you. I'm glad you came back tonight. And DJ Genesis, appreciate you. And anybody who watches this show, like and subscribe to Mel's channel. We do this every night, 8 p.m. New York time, 7 p.m. Dallas, Texas time. And once again, the Legal Review with Calvin Johnson and Mel Smith. We got it right. We're like Karnak the Magnificent. We see the future. Y'all take care and good night.
All right.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.